It's really an important meeting, and I appreciate the 3 Venice Neighborhood Council committees that worked on this. The Public Safety Committee, chaired by Sevan, Gerard, the Oceanfront Walk Committee, chaired by Tom Elliott, and thank you to Matt Klein from the Outreach Committee for pulling this together, and all the people who worked on the committees to make this event happen. Before I start, I would like to have the members of the VNC board stand up, and so we can acknowledge them. Stand up, board members. I know you're here. Everybody, stand up. We're here to serve, and we'll be trying to do our best. So as I said, tonight is an opportunity. Town halls are your opportunity to tell us what you think. Normally our meetings, we sort of control them, and it's time for the board. It's the only time we can really deliberate with each other legally because of Brown Act violations. So it's sort of our meetings, but this is your meeting. Town halls are for the community, our stakeholders, and we're going to listen to you. And we have tonight, we have public officials here, where I'm very happy about, to show you how much they care about what's going on. And I'm appreciative of the councilman and Department of Transportation and County Beaches and Harbors and Recreation and Parks Department and anyone else that I miss. You'll hear from all of them, and I really appreciate them coming out at night for this. And LAFD, of course, and Captain Johnson, who you'll hear from. So we're about to start, and we have a new policy that we're doing at the board meetings. We do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would stand, please. But a special thank you to our moderator, Rob Sedota, who's on loan from Mar Vista Community Council and the Community Police Advisory Board. He's going to make an excellent moderator. Thank you, Rob, for coming. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the 3 chairs of the committees to come forward. I'm going to, Sevan Gerard, who's besides being on VNC, is a member of the LA Fire Department, 63, Station 63 in Venice, Sevan, and Tom Elliott, chair of the Oceanfront Walk Committee, who happens to own the Venice Ale House, and Matt Klein, our outreach chair. Matt, where are you? He's here. Okay, go ahead. You're on, and thank you again for coming.
All right. Thank you very much, Linda. I think she did a wonderful job at sort of framing tonight's event and naming some of the participants. Just real quick, obviously she reminded us that a tragic event happened on the boardwalk. And it's always unfortunate that these types of things have to happen for the wheels to really start spinning fast. And I know we all concern ourselves with the well-being of our community on a regular basis, but without making this too somber, we want to use that to, of course, move forward this evening and let some magic happen for the boardwalk, because we have an amazing resource and enjoyable element here in the city of Los Angeles. I also really need to thank Tom Elliott, Matt Klein, and Melissa Diner for all the unbelievable work. And Melissa, where are you? You have to stand up. I said I would. There she is. In the back of the way. Absolutely amazing job. I'm going to pass it on to Tom Elliott, and thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate the turnout, and I think we're going to do great things. Good job.
Thank you, Sevan. Thank you, Linda. I'm Tom Elliott, Chairman of the Oceanfront Walk Committee of the Venice Neighborhood Council, and I welcome you to what we hope is the first in a series of town halls about the issues surrounding our beloved boardwalk, and I want to thank you all very much for coming. As we all know, our boardwalk is integral to the community of Venice. Tens of millions of visitors every year makes the boardwalk the most visited attraction in Los Angeles. And it takes the stewardship of each and every one of us as citizens of Venice to keep the boardwalk the pride of our community. The focus of this particular town hall is public safety on the Oceanfront Walk, and the goal is to address the public safety needs assessment, which has been put forth by the Department of Recreation and Parks in response to the August 3rd tragedy in which a man drove a vehicle on the boardwalk, killing one and injuring many others. We're fortunate to have Councilman Bonin, members of his staff, representatives from Rec and Parks, Captain Brian Johnson from LAPD, Pacific Division, and Battalion Chief Bowman of the LAFD, and many other city officials here with us tonight to discuss the assessment and the public safety concerns on Oceanfront Walk. So here's how it works. If you haven't read the assessment, there are copies back in the greeting area, and if you'd like to pick up a copy and familiarize yourself with it, that would be well advised. Also, it will be projected overhead to some degree later on in the program. In order to ask a question or present an idea, you'll need to fill out a comment card, and those are available also in the back. So please frame your question and or comments in terms of public safety and the Rec and Parks assessment. Your ideas will be logged in, so make sure that you hand in your speaker card after speaking. The Oceanfront Walk Committee, in conjunction with the Outreach Committee, the Public Safety Committee, the Arts Committee, and the Visitor Impact Committee will hold a joint meeting this Monday to draft a motion as to our position. And that motion will then go before the Venice Neighborhood Council and then on to Councilman Bonin's office. Councilman Bonin has made it very clear that he wants to hear from the people of Venice, and he wants them to speak and to be heard on this issue that is so relevant to all of us. So this is your chance. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about our moderator, Mr. Rob Cadota. Rob works as an assistant director at UCLA in the Office of Residential Life. He's the former chair of the Mar Vista Community Council. He is currently the civilian co-chair for the LAPD Pacific Area Community Police Advisory Board, and he co-chairs the Safety and Security Committee of the Mar Vista Community Council. He's on the board of the Mar Vista Neighborhood Association. He's also a home brewer, close to my heart. He loves animals, and he's an avid cyclist. Please welcome Mr. Rob Cadota.
All that, and I can read an agenda, so it's a bonus. It's my pleasure to invite Mike Bonin, who is our city council member, whose motto is Neighborhoods First. And what a great motto, what a great start to kick off tonight's discussion about safety and neighborhoods. Mike, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. I was just reminding Rob is an avid cyclist, and he's actually participating in the AIDS Life Cycle this year. And I was reminding him to remind me to donate to his page. If he does a good job as moderator tonight, I encourage everybody to go to his page and contribute themselves. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. I'm glad to see so many people here tonight. We're here tonight because Venice is many things to many people. For some people, it is a neighborhood. For some people, it's a park. For some people, it's a tourist destination. But for all of those people, it is a precious resource. And it must be kept safe. And it must be kept clean. And it must be kept neighborhood friendly. We're here tonight because we're going to consider the report from the Department of Recreation and Parks. They did a public safety needs assessment over the summer. That needs assessment was preceded by the incident that everybody heard about, where someone drove a car down the boardwalk, injured a number of people, and killed poor Elliott who was here on a honeymoon in Italy. But the report wasn't issued so much because of that, or to react to that, or to prevent that. It was issued because when I went down there that night, as the incident was still unfolding and the police were responding, I had a number of conversations with members of the fire department, the police department, residents, neighbors, other first responders, who were talking about some of the public safety vulnerabilities at Venice Beach. They talked to me about how every week there's at least a dozen people who accidentally drive on to the boardwalk. Some of them are following GPS, some of them are like Mr. Magoo, but all of them have the potential of doing what happened not here over the summer, but what happened at the Santa Monica's Farmers Market 10 years ago. in that horrible tragedy when so many people were injured and maimed and killed. And that's something that I wanted us to pay attention to. It was also reported to me that night by our first responders that the lighting down there, as many people have complained over the years, is insufficient. It was also reported to me that night that we don't have an adequate public address system, and if there were an emergency and people needed to disperse or needed to be given direction on how to respond, which ways to exit in case something was happening on the northern end and you had to leave by the southern end, there was no way to adequately communicate that. And we've seen an incident over the years that trying to communicate that by a helicopter hasn't worked particularly effectively in a number of places. We also learned that there's not a lot of great video cameras down there that can be used to record criminal activity and have evidence after the fact. In the accident that happened this summer, it was really the cameras that were maintained by the private businesses that were most useful and quite helpful. All of that underscored something that is quite clear about Venice Beach, about this place that needs to be a neighborhood, a park, and a tourist attraction all at the same time, is that we treat this very unique and special gem just like any other park in the city of Los Angeles. We treat it just like the smallest park in the city of Los Angeles. There's one person whose job is to be in charge of maintenance, and trash, and the bathrooms. There's another person who's in charge of recreation programming. There is a head of the beach detail who's down there, and then Beaches and Harbors is in charge of the lifeguards. But there's no one, really, whose sole job it is to think holistically about Venice Beach. How should we be making it more neighborhood friendly? How should we be making it more clean? How should we be programming it so that it's fun and entertaining and reflective of the diverse and eclectic spirit of Venice Beach? What's the right balance between filming and being neighborhood friendly? What's the right balance between protecting public safety and allowing people to have fun? All of those questions only get considered in this ridiculous ad hoc manner, bounced around from agency to agency. So I wanted a couple things when I asked for the public safety needs assessment. One, I wanted some immediate hardscaping down there to make sure that we didn't have the Mr. Magoo or the misdirected GPS or the Santa Monica Farmers Market incident. That was asked for to be done immediately as a stopgap measure until this report could come out, until we could get feedback on how to do things in a more neighborhood-friendly manner. Yeah, they put some signs up, and some of them aren't the most attractive signs in the world. They put some bollards up, and some of them are not the most attractive bollards in the world, and some of them are not the most functional bollards in the world. It was a first step. And when I was talking about this in the immediate aftermath, I said, we don't want this to be Fortress Venice. We want this to feel like our neighborhood and like our park. So if we need to make sure that vehicles can't drive safely onto the beach, what about plants? What about sculptures? What about artwork? What about things that feel and look like Venice? So those are the kind of things I hope we can discuss going forward. Then I also want, with the neighborhood council and with the community, to begin a conversation about the right way to manage and maintain and celebrate and improve Venice Beach. We're talking specifically tonight about the Public Safety Needs Assessment Report, and that talks about some of the issues I outlined, the lighting and the loudspeakers and the emergency ingress and egress and preventing vehicles. But I want to be sparking a conversation about how we make the beach so much better than it is now. I first moved here in 1991, and I was attracted by the creative and eclectic and diverse spirit of Venice Beach. And there's a lot of that still there. But there's also a lot of stuff that really ain't that good. I went down to dinner the other night at a restaurant near the beach, Saturday night, and I took a walk with my partner. at 9 p.m. down the boardwalk. I did not feel threatened, but honest to God, I did not feel comfortable. I did not feel proud of how that beach looks. I did not feel excited that this was how my neighborhood is maintained. I did not feel like, my God, I can't wait to bring my mom and my nieces and nephews here the next time they're in town. We need to fix that. We need to make it safer, we need to make it cleaner, and we need to make it feel like it reflects the spirit of Venice. That's not something that's going to be dealt with completely in this report. And it's not going to be something I can wave a magic wand and get done in my second 100 days. But it's something I want to work very aggressively on for the 4 years that I'm in office. Because this community needs I want to thank the members of the various city agencies that responded so quickly when I lit a fire back in August and said, we need to be treating this like an urgent situation. Our fire department, our police department, our public works department, Department of Transportation, our legislative analysts, members of my staff, and particularly the Venice Neighborhood Council, and the way that volunteers engaged on this. I did something a little bit different when I put this motion in council. Usually you put a motion in, and when you ask for information from a department, where you ask for recommendations for action, you say, and refer this to such and such committee. And this report will go to the Council's Public Safety Committee, and this report will go to the committee that oversees parks and arts and humanities. But I also asked that this report go to the Venice Neighborhood Council, because I wanted the Neighborhood Council to be given the same prestige as a council committee in considering this, and I wanted to make sure that we had opportunities here in Venice on an evening or on a weekend to discuss it, so that we're doing what we can to bring City Hall closer to Venice, so you don't have to schlep downtown in traffic, or if you're good in mass transit, and sit on a hard bench and testify at a hearing on a day when you should be at work or taking your kids to school. So this isn't the end of the conversation. This is the beginning of the conversation. I'll be here to listen tonight, and I want to make sure that as the next couple of years go by, we see significant improvement and enhancement at Venice Beach, because that's what you deserve, that's what residents deserve, that's what park patrons deserve, and that's what tourists deserve, for something that is a neighborhood jewel, and should be a neighborhood jewel, and is a world-recognized icon. So thank you.
Well, you set the bar pretty high. Mike, thank you for setting a sense of the here and now and what we need to focus on tonight in terms of a very specific report to talk about the safety issues for a specific geographic area, but also really reminding us the heart and soul of neighborhoods and community, and capturing it and expressing the partnership that city and community share in the shared governance. So pleased to have you as an elected start the evening off by those wonderfully insightful and I think engaging remarks that talk about a process of moving forward. The rest of our speakers have city jobs and a little bit more focused mission. And so pardon maybe their lack of grandeur of vision, but critical elements and components to share as we try to understand the reports and recommendations. Leading off tonight, we have Captain Brian Johnson, who's the commander of Pacific. Captain Johnson.
So good evening, everybody. Can I just say ditto and then walk off the stage? I think the councilman said it best, but let me just make kind of a few points. And I think Captain Peters, my predecessor, myself, in the short time I was here as your patrol commanding officer, I think we truly demonstrated that the Pacific Division wants to be a partner with the entire community. I think you look across the issues, we have demonstrated we want to listen, we want to hear what the community has to say, and we want your feedback. Like the councilman said, I believe this is a first a good start to looking at public safety from the LAPD standpoint. It's critical that I think we look at it from a tourist standpoint, from a resident standpoint, and really across the spectrum. Any one of us that have children, when we walk down Oceanfront Walk, we want to feel safe. And I think at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. And so you have my commitment as a commanding officer. We are going to continue to listen to you as a community and to all the constituents and the other folks in our city family, so we can come to a sensible agreement and a balanced approach in how we're going to do this. That has always been my approach to how we're going to police in Pacific, and I will continue to do that. Unfortunately, I have to leave early, and I want to thank everybody for allowing me to speak first, or right after the councilman. But I have several members of the LAPD family staff that are here to actually answer specific questions that you may have later on. Lieutenant Dan Gonzalez, who actually was the point for LAPD, and I have Sergeant Gomez from ITD that will speak specifically about some of the technical aspects of the cameras and the PA systems. And then also I have your senior leads here as if you have any specific questions about crime. So again, that's really our position as it relates to that. Again, we want to work collaboratively with everybody. Like Linda and me always talk about, issues offline. That's going to continue to be my approach. So that will end my comments. But let me just say one last thing. Rob Cadota is my CPAP co-chair, so please be nice to him, okay? If you're mean to him, he's going to let me know, and I'm going to come back and get you all. Okay, so have a good night.
You don't have to throw any softballs. I'm going to move the agenda up a little bit and have our other life safety expert come up, and that's Battalion Chief Michael Bowman from LAFD to talk a little bit about his perspective, and that way we get the men in blue up front, and then we'll have Michael Scholl from Department of Recreation and Parks. So,
thank you. Good evening. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Battalion Chief Michael Bowman. I'm Commander of Battalion 4 on the A Platoon, which covers the area of LAX, obviously, Westchester, Playa del Rey, Venice, and all surrounding areas. I also have here is the captain and members of Fire Station 63 here with us as well. They were there present, some of them, and responded to the tragic incident that occurred months ago. And I'd like to say on behalf of the fire department that I'm really, anytime we have something that's going to accomplish our mission, which enhances public safety and the protection of life and property, I want to say a thanks to Councilmember Bonin and his staff for the leadership they have taken in this measure that he initiated immediately on responding to the Venice Beach incident. And I served 5 years as Commander of Public Safety for the Fire Department, so I oversaw all major events at venues and several here at Venice Beach. And this is a long time coming, so I do want to compliment his leadership in this. The Fire Department fully supports this initiative. We've been on several meetings, and we really like some of the components that we're seeing. We have people that respond day to day to Venice Beach here with us today. And the councilman spoke that Venice Beach is many things to many people, and my firefighters and paramedics respond to that on a daily basis. So there's lots of components that we want to address in ensuring overall public safety. Access, emergency response, and so forth. The planning concept is great. We're moving forward with it, and I'd like to finally say that the fire department gives us full support. Thank you.
So besides having presentations, we do have at the very end after the presentations, Q&A and public comment. We're going to hear from Los Angeles City Department of Recreation and Parks, and then after that we have some technical experts from LAPD that will talk about a little bit about some of their assessments and other city agencies. But we've heard some introductory remarks from the councilman, police department, fire department, thank you very much,
And now we want to hear a little bit of an overview and introduction to the report of the meat and potatoes of tonight's meeting. So, Michael.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Mike Scholl. I'm the Assistant General Manager with Recreation and Parks, and most of you probably know that the City of LA Recreation and Parks Department operates and maintains the boardwalk portion of Venice Beach, as well as the Venice Beach Pier. We acted as the facilitator of an issue that involves a lot of jurisdictions across the city. So basically, following direction by the councilman, and honestly, all the things that he said, I don't think that any of us could say it any better. But we started an effort within the city with the fire department, the police department, the Department of Transportation, Bureau of Street Services, Bureau of Engineering, the city attorney's office, the mayor's office, and Council District 11. We began meeting, and Rec and Parks acted as the facilitator to gather the information of an assessment of the public access needs, emergency access needs, and emergency response that's needed along Venice, along the boardwalk. So we spent a number of days out on the boardwalk, walking it with the assessment team, and every one of those departments were represented, and began to compile what we thought were best emergency access points, where police and fire and everybody needs to get in and out quickly. That was really a major precursor to a lot of the recommendations that you're going to hear tonight. I mean, that was a major driving factor. Now, what you're going to see tonight in the presentation is, the concepts of what could be. Definitely there's bollards and things, but they can, as the councilman put it, and you'll see it in the presentation. They don't necessarily need to be a bollard. They can be a planter. They can be all sorts of things. So there's a lot of ideas that you're going to see tonight, and basically it's our hope to start to get some feedback from the community, as this is being the opening meeting of this, so that we can really begin to put a plan in place that we know is supported by the community. And I know that's really important to the council member, and certainly important to Recreation and Parks. Let me do a quick introduction. I have a couple of staff members here, and I have 4 really great young women here that I'm going to introduce in a moment, and they're going to give you the presentation. But I have Jenny Carrion and Dan Valdez from our department, who really helped facilitate, bringing all the departments together and making sure everybody stayed on task, and basically, putting this report together. But let me introduce, these young women here are soon-to-be young professionals. They're all from the USC School of Architecture. And Rec and Parks was really blessed because we early in the summer, we hired a bunch of students from the School of Architecture from USC to help us with a number of projects that we needed to get done over the summer. So fortunately, I had this great resource with me when this happened. And I wanted to introduce Jean Yang. You put a wave there. Molly Dantzler, Hannah Montezeri, and Sandra Wong. And it's not just this project they worked on many projects, but they really helped us pull this together. And I can't thank them enough, and I wish them all the luck. They're going back to USC pretty soon. They're in school and soon to graduate and soon to move on in their own life, so this is hopefully a good experience for them. So I don't want to take up any more time. I think we're going to get on with the presentation. So if you guys want to begin, I'm going to allow them to actually run through the slides, and then we'll turn it back over to Bob to the next phase of the meeting. Thank you very much.
Good evening. First of all, we just wanted to thank you for this opportunity to present to you, and just to imagine what Venice Boardwalk could be, a safe boardwalk that still has the community spirit and the joie de vivre and bohemian air that we all associate with Venice Boardwalk. So as Mike said, this summer we were interning with Rec and Parks, and we walked up and down the boardwalk all the way from Marine down to Washington, and looked at all the different streets and thought thought about how can we make them safer, but also create spaces for the community. So on some streets, you need to have the fire and the police and emergency vehicles to come through. So the second type of intervention that we had is the emergency access, where there's going to be a gate that you actually can open, will be closed to the majority of vehicles. The third type of streets are streets like Washington or Rose, where they're open because they empty into a parking lot. And so we have to think about how cars can still enter through these streets, get to the parking lot without getting onto the boardwalk. And finally, we have parking lots, which are right now directly abutting the boardwalk, and cars can actually move all the way through. So what we did is we made this map, next slide, which it shows the status, which of these four different types of interventions each of the roads would fall into. Would it be open? Would it be closed? Would it be an emergency? Is it a parking lot? And there's actually, it's in the back also if you want to look at it more specifically to see where your street falls into. And now we want to show you what these streets could possibly look like.
This is an example of a closed street where vehicular access is denied at all times. A lot of these streets fall in the residential area where we are narrower and we have a smaller space to work with. Our proposed solution was to use planters, appropriate signage, bike racks to create the boundary between the boardwalk and the street to make it and also make it aesthetically pleasant. This is another example of a closed street, but it's different from the other one in a sense that vehicular access is stopped midpoint through the street. So we have a bigger space to work with in these cases, where we decided to create gathering plazas and add street furniture, perhaps children play area, and in order to make it visually in order to make it easier for you to visually understand, some of these spaces are as big as this room, so these are great opportunities, in our opinion, to provide public open spaces.
So as we talked about before, some of the streets actually do have to be closed, and unfortunately that means we have to create some kind of gate. So here's an example of a street that strategically needs to be opened and gated so that the fire or the police could actually access it. So here's some idea about how we could use actually planters instead of bollards, and how we could actually paint a rhino gate to make it a little bit more festive. There are a lot of different options for gates. On the next slide here, you'll see this is our Halloween, more festive option for a gate. And here we're also using planting on the side instead of bollards to create some kind of closure.
This shows a situation where vehicular traffic passed across the boardwalk to access a parking lot on the beach. And here we have retractable bollards, which would direct traffic into the parking lot and prevent them from turning onto the boardwalk accidentally or on purpose. But also it would provide, because they're retractable, it would still allow for emergency vehicle access when necessary. And then this shows the situation at Washington, the intersection at Washington, which everyone knows is experiences heavy traffic, both vehicular and pedestrian, on a regular basis. And here we would suggest permanent bollards as well as increased planting mats to act as a barricade to protect pedestrians and cyclists, as well as adding safety lighting, a more visible crosswalk, and a PA system.
And this is an example of one of the parking lots that was actually open to the boardwalk. So as you can see from the before picture, there's really nothing preventing the cars from driving straight across the boardwalk right onto the beach. So what we have proposed here are bollards and a nice planting edge to create that really defined space between pedestrians and cars, and to create a more pleasant and safe environment for everyone.
The rest of the presentation basically details all of the streets, all the way from Washington all the way to Marine. Just looking at what it looks like now, each of the four categories it falls into, what are the street widths, what are some necessary notes. This is an incredibly important strategic street for the police and the fire. We just wanted to close and to again thank you for giving us this opportunity. These were just our ideas about what could happen on the boardwalk, but we're really excited to hear what you guys think.